Right. Welcome to the newest installment of PTKAW's interviews with international officer candidates and officers and their campaign staff. This is Paul Flumen, and today we are interviewing Veronique Manfredini, former international presidential candidate from Brookdale Community College in New Jersey. She has been generous enough to contribute some of her time to talk about the officer campaign experience and then also some of her platform and ideas and goals, not just for her campaign, but also going forward as a member and soon to be alum of Phi Theta Kappa on her own, particularly related to alumni. So Veronique, thank you very much for joining us. Your time is of utmost value, and we very much appreciate you making time for us out of your day to participate in this, to support the society.
Thank you.
So just for our viewers, just go ahead and give out any introduction of yourself that you would think would be of interest and relevance.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Veronique Manfredini. I come from Brookdale Community College in New Jersey. I am originary from Italy. I was born and raised there. I moved here when I was 20, so I've been here for 5 years. I'm 25 currently. I was a very active member of my chapter. I am going to continue being an active member as an alumni, and I plan on transferring this coming semester.
So for starters, oops, that was my keyboard dropping. Never mind that noise. For starters, could you discuss a little bit how you started to get involved with your chapter? And was there a particular moment when you started to get involved, when it started to resonate with you, and was there an aha moment where you said to yourself, this is, I can tell, going to be a major part of my education and my life moving forward?
So when I joined Brookdale's chapter of Phi Theta Kappa, Alpha Pi Theta, I received the letter in the fall of 2017. I had been at Brookdale for a year already, and I had completed full 12 credits. I was working part-time. I was working full-time, approximately 72 hours a week, and I was going to school part-time. And when I received the letter, it was probably the first time that I was recognized for my hard work at school. Unfortunately, growing up in Italy, I did not have a very supportive environment. I was not a good student, you would say, because of the bullying I received from both professors and classmates. So when I joined Brookdale, I found a very encouraging and supporting environment that I had never had before, and I really thrived there. I joined the NSLS the semester before that, but when I joined PTK, it was a whole different situation. I went to the first orientation, and I was blown away by the scholarships first and foremost. I was like, that is so cool. But then I got to know the advisor, Angela Saragusa, who is now one of my closest friends, and I love her dearly. She was so excited about PTK. She had not been a PTK member in her time as a community college student, but she was an advisor for so long that she felt like it was part of her. And she was so excited when she spoke about it that it really resonated with me. So I joined PTK, and before I became an active member of the community college's chapter, they were doing a fundraiser. So I hadn't even accepted my membership yet, and they were doing this fundraiser, and I'm very competitive in a way. So when I was given the opportunity to participate in this fundraiser, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And it really felt amazing because people were encouraging me and pushing me forward. And I think that was mainly the biggest thing that pushed me to decide this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be part of, because they encouraged me and they included me even as a prospective member, not an official member yet. And then they opened up the opportunities for other volunteer hours. And I really didn't have a lot of time because I was working 72 hours a week. So I was a chef. So it was very hard to juggle the time for volunteering and for schooling and at the same time going to work. But they found the way to make me participate in these events. even when I had very little time, which was also very amazing. And when they finally opened the options for becoming a chapter officer, they created a special position just for me because I didn't have so much time. I didn't have enough time to be an official board member. They created a special position just for me so I could still be part of the board and be active within the chapter. And I think that was when I first realized, okay, well, this is wow. And it made me really feel like I belong, which was something I had never felt before. So I think when they created a special position for me just so I could be part of the board, that's when I realized this was what I was going to be doing for the rest of my time.
It's really like an encouragement of ownership in the empowerment of the individual student with ownership like that, and that's what resonates with a lot of people from the outset. So I was going to kind of ask you about Brookdale and what it was like there, but you already covered that for me in your earlier answer. So I wanted to delve a little bit more into, because I've always been fascinated by the Middle States region, because there's two regions that do a better job than anybody else in terms of documenting and promoting their activities and even the activities of their alumni. And it's Middle States and Michigan. Those two do an incredible job. And I've met Alan May and Hadi Abbas at Michigan, and they're wonderful people, and they do a tremendous job to get exposure for their members. But for instance, we have a playlist of the roll call that Middle States puts up every year that they manage to from their conventions.
Really?
Going back to 2013, 2014. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you go back far enough on the Middle States region YouTube channel, it's pretty funny. And they actually put a lot of thought into the roll call. It's so funny to see. But while I was sorting through this stuff, what occurred to me was, my gosh, you have 4 states in the District of Columbia in one region. And obviously it's not a huge geographic area, but that's a lot of people and a lot of chapters to manage, and yet they get such engagement out of people. And I know the comment that you made, it was like an international convention every time that there's a meeting, but kind of just summarize what it's like to be involved where you've got so many different, you're ranging from Pittsburgh to northern New Jersey to DC to Delaware and rural parts of central PA. It's everywhere. And so to me, it's a bigger melting pot than you would have pretty much in any other region, even though there's other combined regions. Like I'm in a combined region right now, but Kansas and Nebraska are very similar. So there's not the opportunity for the melting pot. So I know you mentioned the international conventions. I wondered what's that kind of like to be involved with?
Well, the Middle States has 81 chapters within its geographic area, and as you said, we have 5 states and the District of Columbia. We have 1 regional officer for every state, except for Maryland and DC, which are combined as, they're considered as one state. They have 1 president for them. And then we have the regional president. I'm a past regional officer. My office period ended last month, which is I'm still trying to get over it. I'm so used to seeing the girls every week that it's hard not to see them regularly. We still talk though, so it's nice. The thing that I love about the Middle States is that it doesn't consider the chapters as individual chapters or as entities that need to work to make them a 5-star region. What they consider them are a family. They are first and foremost considered as part of the family. And when we see that somebody's struggling, we go to them and we tell them, hey, what is wrong? How can we help? Is there anything we can do to support you in this period of struggling that you're having? And that's something we did this past year when we noticed that we had a couple chapters that were not being active, unfortunately, and we had both our regional coordinator and us as regional officers. We reached out to the chapters and we're like, hey, we're here for you. If you need anything, please reach out, or we want to support you. And we managed to get 42 of those 81 chapters to be fully active 5-star, gold star members, the chapters. So being a gold star chapter meant that they completed the Middle States goal. They were Middle States Gold, so that meant that they completed the regional officers project for the year, which was MSR leads, and then they got Middle States. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. PTK Gold, and were 5-star chapters. So that was pretty impressive considering that the year before that they had reached, I think, 38. So we surpassed the goal that we had aimed for, which was 39. We got to 42. So that was, and that was just by individually reaching out to every chapter. And that's the thing that I love the most about PTK's regions in general. All of PTK is like that, but our region specifically really tries to make everybody feel included as much as possible. Even the alumni are incredible. We have an alumni association within our region. They actually just voted in the new alumni officers yesterday, and the ones from last year did an amazing job at running all of the events and maintaining our sanity. As regional officers, we had a lot on our plates, especially not knowing what we were doing and having personal things going through at the same time with classes and regional officer. And the alumni really, really kept the whole thing together. They were literally managing everything. And it's not just, the Middle States doesn't consider the alumni as an outside part of the Middle States. It's a braid. Let's put it that way. It's like a braid that you can't, if you don't have all three of the strands, you cannot make a braid work. And that's what the alumni is, one of those three strands. Like the chapters are one, the region is another, and the alumni are a third. And together they make the full braid and they make it look amazing.
And it's worth noting that from what I've seen on those roll call videos, and if you've ever not had time, if you ever have time, delve back to like 2013, 2014, and you'll see some of those roll call videos. You'll laugh very hard in seeing that. Some of them act like it's, you know, drill sergeant or something, but there's actually some of them singing. You get some people that actually can sing pretty good, and it's pretty good work on their part. But one thing they always do is they say what alumni are present for each chapter when they're at conventions like that, and that struck me big time, because I had never seen something like that except in Michigan, which I keep going back to.
We are very proud of our alumni. They literally are the backbone of our region. I can't say that the region would run smoothly if it wasn't for them. Like, they literally put together all of the events with the regional coordinators' assistance, but they are putting together all of the decorations. They're planning all of the events with the regional event planner. They literally are the hands of the region. There's no way to, they support us, and without them, there would not be regional convention like there is.
Well, for you having the experience that you've seen with a very active and engaged alumni presence in your region, it doesn't surprise that much when you see how you made alumni a focal point in your campaign. So I wanted to delve into your campaign now, where what was the process like where you had the interest awakened in you to pursue international office, and sort of what was your thought process, and when did you make the final decision of, this is a big commitment, but it's something that I really want to do, and I am unstoppable toward this goal? What was the ultimate resolution that made you decide this is something you wanted to do?
Well, my first international convention was last year in Florida, in Orlando, Florida, and watching I was not only a regional officer at that point, but I was also a social media, what's the word? I can't remember.
Ambassador?
Social media ambassador. I've got my my PTK Catalyst thing right over there, so I was trying to see it, but I don't have my glasses. I was a social media ambassador for Catalyst last year as well, so I could not go anywhere near the booths, just because as a regional officer, our region did not want us to make it look like we were supporting somebody rather than someone else, because we had two people running for international president at that time. And then as a social media ambassador, I couldn't go near them because I was on social media, on the PTK social media, and they didn't want us to give anybody more screen time than anybody else, which is completely fair. So I didn't get to really see the booths as much, but I did get to see the stuff on stage, and I thought that was amazing. And being able to stand up there and speak in front of 4,000 people, that was like mind-blowing to me. And I have social anxiety, and the idea of getting up on stage like that, even just as a regional officer in front of 300 people, gave me really, really bad anxiety. But I've grown so much from day one to today. I am a completely different person. I love speaking at inductions, and I love speaking at regional events, and the energy that you get from these events, that it really gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And knowing that these candidates were running and doing this in front of the whole spectrum of PTK, I was like, I want to do that too. That looks amazing. That looks like an incredible experience to try. And so that was already like a little bit of a thing in my head at the beginning in April last year. And then Regional Honors Institute in June, we had both James and Jenna come and speak to us about being an international officer. And I was like, maybe I do want to try this. Maybe I do, like, I had put it like, it was not a thing in my head at that point, but it came back and I was like, maybe I do want to try it, give it maybe I'll think about it. It wasn't until I spoke to my friend and mentor, Don Koch, who was the Division I Vice President for 2017, that I decided I wanted to do it. I spoke to him and I was like, listen, I know you were a vice president. I really want to try this. I don't know how to start though. And he told me, I'm not going to support you unless you figure out your reasons why. So I had to figure out why I wanted to run before he would even consider supporting me, even just as a mentor. And I thought that was very mean of him at the beginning. I was like, wow. But then now I realize that he did it for my well-being. It was actually probably the best thing he could have told me. And when I did find my reasons why, I felt like I was a train on fire, but in a good way, in the sense that like I caught up speed and I was just not stopping. I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I think that was when it first cemented in me that I was going to do it, when I found my reasons why.
Yeah, it's not surprising to see the presence of a person who's been there before in being a form of support or being a form of encouragement. In your case, being a source of motivation and a challenge to pursue it. The idea is typically planted someplace by someone who cares in a similar manner.
He really did challenge me a lot throughout this whole process. He was probably the first. He was the only one that literally put me in a position where I was like, "Oh, wait a minute."
That means a lot. That's another way that people use to support the society. Just that means right there. You know, the personal mentorship, even if it's of only one person, that one person, you have no idea how far that mentorship and that sharing of information and experience will go.
That's true.
So before we get into what it was like to run a campaign, aside from your emphasis on alumni, which we'll get to toward the end, what else was your most important priorities for a campaign? What did you find as the most important priorities for PTK in the immediate future while you were running?
Well, what I had that I noticed throughout my whole year as regional officer and before that as a chapter officer, I realized that people wanted to know how to stay connected with each other. They wanted to learn how to be more in contact with the region. They wanted to know how they could get in contact with other chapters. And they found the website, although it's easy to find each chapter depending on the region, they found it to be difficult. and it wasn't as straightforward as they wished it was. And what I started to think about actually during the summer of last year, as a regional officer, I was like, it would be really cool if we could have a social media platform just for PTK members. I think that if you have a PTK member ID number and you are in any way, shape, or form, or a member, a chapter, or an alumni, or an advisor, you should have a way of contacting all of the other members and stuff. I have spoken to many members who had transferred from one college to a different college and couldn't get in contact with the advisor of their college's chapter, and they couldn't get in contact with anybody who was a chapter officer or a member, and they just wanted to feel that sense of security that you get from PTK and being active as a PTK member. So that was the first and foremost thing I decided I wanted to run on, was the connection that you get from PTK. Why not make it universal? And why not give members a connection that you can get through Facebook and Instagram? Make it so that PTK members have something specific to them. It is easier. Now, this might sound weird, but I wanted it to be some sort of a thing that would be like the Hinge of PTK. Not a dating app itself, but I wanted the aspect of that similar thing put into a social media aspect. That I wanted it to be something like LinkedIn and Hinge kind of put together. What I like about Hinge was the fact that you could find people depending on your location, and they would connect people to you depending on your likes and dislikes and things you had in common. And they don't do that on social media. So why not bring that kind of thing to the social media platform format? So have a LinkedIn version of that for PTK members. I see so many things that I like and dislike about different social media platforms, and I wanted to make something of things that I liked for PTK members specifically. So that way, if you transfer over to a four-year college, you become an alumni, you can transfer into this college, say, okay, I am in this location, this is my college right now. Who is in this area that is related to PTK, that is an active member or wants to stay in contact? And they give you the active people that have the option of being findable. Obviously, you need to give them the privacy that they deserve. And so that way you can either create a new chapter as an alumni, or you can just stay in contact with members that you have things in common with. Because it's hard and it's uncomfortable to share your social media with strangers and trying to find people that are in the area. It's weird. Just because your personal social media is just so personal sometimes, you don't want to have to share it. So that was the biggest thing I was running on, was the connection. I wanted to connect members. Another thing I wanted to do was mentorship, which was kind of all of the things that I was working on were connected to this whole idea of connection. I think that connecting members was the most important thing, first and foremost. And through that, then I identified other things that I could do with the same social media platform, was encouraging mentorship programs between alumni and older members with the newer members and prospective members, and things like that. And then I wanted to encourage headquarters to have a new sort of edge for international and returning students kind of thing, because I am an international student. Although I am an American citizen, I moved to the States when I was 20. I identify as an international student. I went to school in Italy. My main language is Italian. I sound American. I don't write American. I do not sometimes sound like an American because I do not make any sense. So I identify as an international student. I identify as a returning student because I was 22 when I went back to school. So I had a 3-year hiatus.
Hiatus. Yeah, it's hiatus.
See, that's another thing, my Italian brain. So I wanted to make people comfortable, because when I transferred into my community college, I walked in there, I had no idea what I was doing. I was scared to death. And when I got that first letter from PTK, I was like, oh, I'm scared to death. This is exciting, but I'm also scared. What is this going to bring to me? How am I going to deal with the interactions and stuff? And that was the biggest thing I was running on, was the connection, and then everything else stemmed from that. And then I had another goal, which was looking at the bylaws from Phi Theta Kappa and seeing like things that are a little more uncomfortable, like bullying and plagiarism and things like that. I wanted to look at their bylaws, see what they had as rules for that kind of stuff, and then make it easy for people to have that addressed. I really believe that as PTK members, we are supposed to be respectful, and we are supposed to uphold the pillars of Phi Theta Kappa. And one of those pillars is scholarship, and scholarship requires you not to be plagiarizing stuff or cheating or any of that sort. So I wanted to look into that. And then the other one is leadership and fellowship, which are kind of entwined. And the thing about them is that you need to be respectful of everyone to be a good leader. And bullying is not one of those things that you can do as an officer or member and expect to just get away with it. And during my campaign, unfortunately, we had an instance where one of our campaign people, one of the people on my campaign team got bullied by people they knew. They were not on the team, but they were bullied, and they made them feel like they didn't belong, and they made them feel like they should just drop out of school and leave PTK forever. And I felt horrible, because that's not how PTK people are supposed to treat each other. So I added that to my list of things I wanted to address as an international officer. I'm still going to probably look into it, but just unfortunately not right now, as I do have another project I have in the works. So I wanted to look at the bylaws, see what their like rules and regulations were for them, and then find a way to make it easier for people to have issues like that addressed.
And so with specific regard to the connectivity concepts that you discussed, it's very much on par with what a lot of higher education honorary organizations are trying to do. So it's something that they really should emphasize, and I hope that does come to fruition, partially because it will enable, as you alluded to, people to undertake stuff like what we have done at the four-year institution. Phi Theta Kappa headquarters has a method for that, but it's right now, submit your institution and we'll give you a list of people that we have on record as having transferred to that institution. So it's very much touch and go. And when we recruit new members, the Washburn Admissions Office gives us a list of people who receive the scholarship, which is well and good. That's about 40 people that we have to recruit from. And then we recruit as much as we can. And most of our great members have come to us that way when they hear about us and it resonates with them. But it doesn't catch everybody, first of all, because it only catches people that got the scholarship. And second of all, it says nothing about people who transfer mid-year, who transfer in the spring semester. And that's been some of our most accomplished members. So I've always longed to, just for our purposes, have some more reliable, foolproof way of people being able to be tracked. And that's why we depend so much on people tracking us. And we, for instance, we used to hang up flyers on our campus, even though we're such a narrow focused organization. We used to hang up flyers on our campus, and one of our people that actually became our treasurer eventually saw one of those flyers and said, she saw it at a basketball game where her roommate was playing in the game, and she said, when I come here next year, I'm going to reach out to them. And so then when she came here the next semester, we got a cold call, or actually a cold application email from her. And I said, who is this? And she hadn't been on any of our lists. And she wasn't on the particular list that we normally get. And this was a person who just found out about us because we put the flyers up. So I said to the guys, okay, you are putting flyers up always and everywhere from now on, period, because it's just worth it to get that one person here. So you can see we have to do a lot of two-way marketing in that way. because it's just as dependent on them finding us as it is for us to find them, except the official channel. So that would be, I mean, if that were to be realized, it would be a tremendous boost for organizations like ours, aside from the benefits that it offers to members. Just from my skewed perspective, I could see the benefits of that stacking up. And also with regard to your last point, I think it's worthwhile to point out that, you know, there's from your personal perspective with your campaign person being involved there, that it was exemplary that you were there living out the hallmarks to support that person, and that's people literally living out the ideals when it matters in their own lives like that. And so that's exemplary and valuable, and I'm sure that person is very, very grateful that
Thank you.
they had you and the other sources that they would have had for support during that difficult time.
I don't like to consider myself a good leader if I'm not listening to the people that I'm leading. My team, this was probably the first time I had to like organize something so big in my entire life. Although I was a regional officer, I was on a team of four other people who were helping me out, and we had a regional coordinator to help with that. But this time I was coordinating all of this stuff by myself, and I had my mentor and my campaign manager, but we all had situations where some of them had family issues and stuff, and I had to coordinate this whole thing, and it was very exhausting, but I wanted to make sure that every single one of my team members felt heard. And I don't like to say I'm a good leader unless they feel heard, and I listened to them. And if they told me that they didn't like something I was doing about my campaign, I'd change it. Like, unless it went completely against all my ideals, I'd listen to them, and I'd want to make sure that every single one of them had their vision and ideas and goals heard before I did anything.
A quote that I heard once and sort of paraphrased was to the effect of, leaders can only call themselves such if someone is buying in and willing to follow. And that sort of dovetails with what you said. And
That's
so
true.
it's, you know, it was great job on your part producing valuable content for people to chew on and promoting the advocacy for those three ideas that you specifically said, where you've got the principled idea of looking at the bylaws, and where you had the hard and heavy facts, frankly, hardware, software type stuff related to the connectivity. That's a person who does their homework, and that's what Phi Theta Kappa needs, is people that have those type of ideas. I read a lot of the pamphlets, and a lot of people came up with a lot of great specific ideas, and it was valuable to the current membership to see. And a year from now or 2 years from now, you know, because of the campaign you ran, you have to understand that other people who might run campaigns or might do something in their region, they see that and they have something on which that they're basing their degree of involvement. So that's why this sort of stuff matters. And I had seen some of the stuff you had done, and that's why I really wanted to elaborate on it, aside from the alumni stuff that we're going to get to in a minute. So just once you got started, for lay people who don't have a familiarity with the process, how far in advance do you typically have to start such a campaign before the convention?
I'm an early planner, so by October I had already decided, I had already figured out my reasons why I was running, why I wanted to run, how I was going to do it, like what I was going to base my goals on. So I started off in October, but I know a lot of people started in January. When the due date was, I think it was like around the 15th of February was the due date for the application. Some people hadn't even completed any of their stuff until like into February. The application process is pretty straightforward. You need to submit by the due date, and then you have to submit by another due date the pamphlet that you're going to have. No, you actually have to submit your pamphlet ideas, a headshot, and your intro video the day you submit your application to be a candidate. So it can be very overwhelming to do that, but it's all about how you can organize yourself. I like to have my ducks in a row way ahead of time, just because I'm a known procrastinator, and I know that if I don't start sooner, I'm going to procrastinate until the very last second, and then I'll be like, oh no, which is what happened with my headshot, because you couldn't go through all of the process. You couldn't go from one page to 2 pages ahead and then come back to it. You had to go through every single page, and you had to submit what you needed to submit, and then you could move on to the next page, which I find to be very irritating, because you don't actually know what you need until you reach the last page. So when I got to the last page, it asked for a headshot and the video and my pamphlet. And I already had the pamphlet designed, but I didn't have the headshot and I didn't have the video. So when I realized I had to submit those the same day of the application, I went into panic, because I had procrastinated those until the very last second. And it took me about 100 tries to get the video down and get it smooth and organized and saying what I wanted to say. And the headshot, that was a whole other bag of worms, because I had taken the pictures with my aunt, who is a photographer. She had come down for the weekend. She took the pictures of me, and I had told her, okay, we need to take the pictures and we need to do the video too. Problem was that we forgot to do the video. So in the middle of I think I was like writing papers at that time too. So I was in the middle of doing that. I was trying to rehearse and produce this video and make it look decent. And I still have all of the tries in my camera roll. You should see the mistakes I've done. I had certain things, they were hilarious. I actually was thinking about posting them at some point on my Instagram. So just keep an eye out for that. They're hilarious.
Well, the finished product was excellent, and if you need it from an outside source that wasn't involved in it from day to day, it was very professional. And I'm a stickler for that sort of stuff. But you went about the process in a very professional and respectful manner, and I think you deserve to be complimented for that. All of the candidates did a great job this time around, but you are very remarkably prepared and professional, and you are very admirable for that in today's day and age, where a lot of people don't understand the concepts of professional courtesy and respecting your audience. In a higher education setting, it's really important that people with leadership have the opportunity to share that awareness in a way that you did and so many others have done. I stress to our people for the professionalism all the time, because a lot of these people are very, very young, and you don't know what sort of experience they've had. I've been around too long, so it's old hat. My mom makes sure that I know what's respectful in a professional setting. So, but yeah, it was very, very very well done on your part for all of your preparation materials and stuff, because I went over it pretty in depth before the convention started when I was looking at stuff. And I never really done that for all the officer candidates before. We've had a couple of people from our region who have run for office. The most recent person to win was Obi, who's at Mississippi State now. He was from Highland Community College, and I was actually at his induction ceremony when he got inducted way back. And he was then around when I got my big regional alumni award from the Kansas-Nebraska region at the convention, and he was the first person to congratulate me when I got the plaque. So
that is awesome.
I always like to, every time I see him anywhere, it's the go-to comment. If you ever see something that OB is faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, that's probably made by me. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's from Krypton. So I would, once you got started, and when the campaign got really, really rolling, obviously we had the conversion to a digital format that complicated everything. Or I won't say complicated, but changed everything.
I could say complicated everything, yes.
Because obviously you only run for something once, so you don't have the perspective of previous years. But just from your perspective, would the conversion and the lack of an in-person convention make it more complicated to run a campaign than it would be if it were in person? I
thought it was complicated. I thought, I have a pretty big, wide connection on my social media because I've been a very active social media presence for PTK for the past 2 years as a regional officer, and through my connections from Catalyst last year, I made new friends through that. But I found it to be very complicated because although I was very happy of the fact that we were allowing other chapters that didn't have the opportunity to come to Catalyst to make it to Catalyst in the virtual format, I found like I didn't have the reach I wish I had. I wish I had had the chance to speak to the delegates directly. Like even as a group conversation with all the delegates or something of the sort would have been nice to be able to get to do. Unfortunately, we did not have that option this time around, which I found to make it very hard to feel like I was getting anything done. And plus the extension of the time for campaigning really caused a lot of us to feel very uncomfortable because some of us didn't have the social media presence or didn't know how to run social media as well as others did. And I feel for the ones that didn't have the reach, the social media reach that I had, and other people like Levada has a really wide connection through social media, but people like Yahir and there were so many other people that Savannah, and they didn't have the connections and they didn't have the reach that they would have had, and I don't think they had. I don't feel like we all had the equal chance that we would have if we were in person, which is why I also hope to make this social media platform a reality, because this would make it easier for us to run as campaign candidates, because it would be specific to PTK members. I do not like opening my Facebook to strangers, and I do not like having to blast my Facebook with PTK only related stuff when I have family and friends from home in Italy who do not understand anything of what I'm posting. I went live like 4 or 5, 6 times a week during my campaign, and I had Italian friends hopping on saying, "Io non capisco, cosa stai parlando?" They were like, "I don't understand, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna speak Italian on live or they will think I'm weird. Like, hi, I'll tell you later.
I could imagine that would have been priceless, interacting with that in a live setting like that as it was happening. But
yeah, it made me very uncomfortable to have my Italian friends hopping on my lives for PTK, and I was just like, this is really weird. It makes me very uncomfortable.
You could have potentially utilized the language and made a comment to the extent of, "Hey, disregard this, don't worry about it," and the people in the States probably wouldn't, unless they actually spoke the language, wouldn't have known what you were saying, and it would have only gotten to the right audience.
That's true. I may have done it a couple times. I just don't. I don't know. I didn't want to use that on my lives. Just
yeah. So in when it got going, what would it, and you've talked a little bit about the live videos and stuff that you did, but what was a typical day like for you in the lead up to the convention for what you would be doing to run your campaign?
Well, let me start off with the fact that I was not paying any attention to my classes whatsoever during that period of time. To the point where I found out 4 days ahead of time that I had a math test on Thursday, due on Thursday at 12 p.m., the day before campaigning ended. And I may have gone into a massive anxiety attack because I was like, I don't even know what's going on here. So that was one thing that became a very big thing of the campaign, was forgetting about school altogether. It didn't help that we were in the middle of a pandemic and that school had closed and all of that stuff. So I was already in a situation where I was having a hard time paying attention anyway. And I feel like every one of the candidates had the same exact problem. Like, we were all struggling with this. The fact that it was dragged on another 2 weeks was very exhausting for all of us. Social media is an amazing platform, But it can also be very exhausting to be active all the time and not feeling like you have the right to take a break. So that was a big downside of the campaign online like that. My usual day looked like I would get up around 10-ish in the morning and I'd start right away on the computer. I would be in bed working on the computer. I had one of my campaign team members start making the videos that I had as graphics on my Instagram and my Facebook, but she had to step back because she was overwhelmed with her own stuff. That stuff was going on in her family. So she took a step back. So I took over that aspect of the organizational setting of that. So that took me approximately 3 to 4 hours to make every single video. You'd never think that those types of videos would take so long, but they do. For the first 14 days, I had a schedule for the videos, and then after the 14 days, when they had pushed it further another 14 days, I didn't have anything specific, so I had to start coming up with ideas as we went along. So that was pretty overwhelming. And then we would work on, we would have a meeting. I'd have a meeting with my mentor and my campaign manager that was about an hour and a half long. If not every day, at least every other day. And then with my team, we tried to meet once a week, at least, with the most amount of members that could make it. And we talk about ideas and plans and things like that. But yeah, most of my day went by in front of the computer, doing Instagram posts and videos and Zoom meetings.
And I went a little bit longer on holding mute before I started talking just now, just because there was a car with a loud motor going by. So I don't need our audience to be subjected to that. So just in general, now that it's done and you've had some chance to reflect on it a little bit, when you look back at the campaign experience, what will be the most, in your opinion, rewarding part of the entire experience that will be of the most value to you as you continue your education and your career?
The connections I've made through the campaign. I made a lot of friends, both through people that were from different chapters and within the campaign team itself. I had a lot of members from the campaign team that were not from my region. My campaign team spread across all of the divisions. So it was, I had a lot of friends through that. And then as we went along, more and more people hopped on to the team. They wanted to join in and be part of it. And I feel like that is probably going to be the thing that I'm going to cherish the most from the whole thing, is the connections I made with my team and with the people outside of the team itself. I feel like the fellowship aspect of campaigning is the most important part. I picked up some really good skills too. Like, I know how to make a website overnight now, because that website, they told us 2 days, but like they told us the day of the campaign starting that they would allow us to make a campaign website, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Yeah, and by the way, that was great, and I don't know if everyone took advantage of it, but yours was very remarkable.
I was up all night putting that together the night of the 18th of March. I was really excited, and every single day I'd go into it and change it up and add some more stuff to it, move things around, and I'm pretty proud of it, honestly. That's one of the skills I picked up. I also learned how to use the live streaming section of Facebook and Instagram in a better way. Like, I've gone live before and just never, I don't know, I never really took it seriously enough that I was learning things from it. And I really learned how to go live and how to take advantage of all the tools it offered. And I learned how to make graphic videos. That was really cool. Those graphics that I made for the video, the minute-long videos explaining my goals and things like that, that was another thing I never knew how to do. So, but more so, the connections were probably the thing. Like, honestly, the connections between the team and the campaign, the candidates, those were probably my favorite things. The Zoom meetings we had through us candidates, as all 39 of us, then 38, because one of the girls had to drop out for don't know what. We met regularly every other day or so to like blow off steam, hang out. We play Jackbox, I think it's called, and Kahoot and things like that. And we chat and do homework together. It was nice. I made some really good friends through that.
And I forgot to ask you this earlier, but was there anyone else from Middle States running for president? I think there was another person from New Jersey, if I'm correct.
Yes. Marie Febrelet was the regional president for the Middle States region while I was the New Jersey state president, so the VP of the region. She decided to run for president as well.
And is that pretty commonplace where you'll have lots of people running for international president, including from overlapping geographic areas, so that people who know each other and are pretty close?
Yeah, our region does not like to limit the people that run. So if somebody says, I want to run, and they have the support from the college and the chapter, because you need to have the chapter, the college's support before you can submit your application. You cannot run if you don't have your college support. If you have the college support, then the region is not going to tell you, no, you can't run, because you're limiting people from reaching something that they hope to achieve. And that's not what the Phi Theta Kappa is all about.
And so then that segues into the last question I had that was kind of campaign specific, which was, obviously I don't know how often people from your campus do this type of activity, but what sort of waves, ripples has your candidacy, your involvement with the chapter made on your campus, and do you think it's raised awareness of Phi Theta Kappa benefits of membership to the general student population at your college?
Because of the fact that it was online and because of the pandemic going on, I feel like it didn't have the effect it could have had we done it in person, had the college still been open. But I know about a lot of people that, like, our chapter really spoke about it. I made finalists, so that was a really big achievement. They really were really proud of that. So it was a thing that was on our social media pages. It just, I don't know, it didn't have as much of an effect, but I think that because it's affected me so much, I decided to run for graduate trustee, because I am graduating this semester because I didn't win. I'm graduating with 2 degrees, but I've decided to run for graduate trustee. So I'm going to be applying what I learned through my campaign to my position as a graduate trustee if I win, obviously. So whatever happens next, the effects that it has had on me, it's going to, I'm hoping, going to make a difference on campus that way.
And the position that you mentioned, graduate trustee, I've not heard of anything similar to that. Could you describe what that's actually about and what your responsibilities will be with that?
So as a graduate trustee is a student that graduated during the year that applies for a position on the board of trustees of the college. As a graduate trustee, you are a student, a former student, that has connections within the college and can bring to light to the trustees things that are affecting the student population. One thing that our graduate trustee of this year had created was the Brookdale Trustee Advisory Committee, which I'm part of, and it gave me the opportunity to speak to clubs and students and get to know what their issues were and then bring them to the trustees. And we had conversations with the trustees and we brought these things to light to the trustees themselves, which was really good because that had never happened before, that students had a chance to speak to trustees directly. And that was really amazing in my opinion. So the job of the student trustee, the graduate student trustee, is to bring to light issues that the students bring to that person and then have them addressed by the board of trustees.
That's actually very encouraging and very heartwarming that the institution has a role for recent graduates like that. That's a concept that I was not familiar with. but I'm glad that you've explained that to me, because that's something that I think I would like to advocate for in our neck of the woods, because honestly, I've been focus grouped by my college and other colleges before about certain matters of consultation. I've been focus grouped by my own university when I came back to get an additional degree. So it's nice because a lot of times graduates are being consulted anyway on an unofficial basis. So why not have it codified in a way that the student can have official responsibilities and be able to take credit for? So that
Exactly.
is a very, very valuable role that they have given you and that they have available for students. I'm very glad that they do that. And I'm going to
Yeah, me too.
mentally make note of that as for future consideration, for sure. Now, before we delve into the alumni parts of your campaign and your ideas, just a couple of non-direct related questions for PTK. You mentioned you're leaving Brookdale this semester. Have you decided where you want to transfer and what you want to do for your degree, for your major?
Well, I applied to different schools. My initial first decision on school, first choice up until last year was Princeton University. Just because I had wanted to go there since I was 9 years old. I was like dead set, I want to go to Princeton. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized I didn't actually want to go to Princeton. I wanted more of a city life experience. I wanted to be in a place where I was close to family. I wanted to be in a place where I could be an adult, and I love my parents, but I live with them, and it can get a little bit overbearing sometimes when you're 25 and they expect you to let them know where you are at all times. I also lived by myself for a while before this, so it gets even more exhausting when you've already had that experience. So I decided I was going to apply to different colleges, both in New Jersey, because I'm an all-state scholar as well. But I also decided to apply to the University of Hawaii. And I was accepted to most of the schools I applied to. I'm still waiting to hear back from Columbia University, which is my first choice right now, because of their English program and the fact that they are prepared for transfer students. I really like the fact that the School of General Studies has the transfer experience and is prepared for transfer students and non-traditional students, which is something I was worried about, was having to end up in classes with people that were freshmen that didn't have my same viewpoints and that had different experiences from me in a way where they were not mature enough to have a conversation with, which unfortunately I've had to deal with at Brookdale, and I love Brookdale, but were some classes where I really wanted to scream. And so what I was looking for was a more transfer-friendly school where I could feel more at ease. So Columbia is my first choice. They have to let me know. I'm waiting to hear back from them. If I don't get into that, into Columbia, I'm probably going to go for the University of Hawaii, because it's Hawaii. And I've been there before, and they have really nice professors. So.
So you're thinking nationally too. That's a national perspective. You talk about getting outside of a comfort zone geographically. That's a geographic journey right there.
Yeah.
That's something that you're glad to undertake. So you are not risk averse, and you're not afraid to challenge
not
yourself.
At all. I moved from Italy to Florida when I was 20. I used to travel a lot for high school. I went when I turned 15. I think I was 15 or 16. We have 5 years in high school in Italy. So I did my first year in my town, and then I did the next 4 years in 2 different sections of Italy. So I went 2 hours south for the first 2 years and 2 hours north for the last 2 years. So I'm a big person on the traveling aspect. I like to try something new all the time. I'm not afraid of stepping out of the comfort zone as much as I'm afraid of not trying. So yeah.
Another thing that I just wanted to clarify, just because you mentioned being the all-state academic team, in the Middle States region, all the states have their own all state academic teams separately, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Every
'Cause
state every state has their own. So no, go ahead.
It was funny because actually in the drawer that I'm sitting in front of right now is my All Kansas medallion. I can't reach it because I'm going to fall over in my chair, but I should have had that with me, and then we could have shared our medallions that just have different insignias.
Oh, I don't have mine yet. They're gonna mail it over to us soon, though. Yeah, I know.
We got ours the day of. Oh well.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
they didn't. They were going to have an event in May. Actually, they were going to have a dinner for us as students,
okay.
and they were going to give us our certificates and our medallions then. But because of coronavirus, they had to cancel that, and they are shipping them over to us. So I'm getting all my graduation stuff in the mail now.
In Kansas, we do our all-state we do it in March now, but we used to do it in February, and I'm not sure about this, but I believe part of the reason is because we don't want to do it in April and May. One, because finals is pretty early in May, and two, because you get into April and May, you start to get into tornado season.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a little bit of an issue because we're in Tornado Alley here. But that was the All-State Academic Team thing was valuable. That largely set me on the trajectory that I've been on since transferring, because that was the first manifestation of, I realized, the generosity of the grantors of Phi Theta Kappa and what membership and accomplishment truly meant. And that was sort of what got me started on the craze that I've been on now for almost 8 years. So I think I'll go back to the conversation we had about the transfer institution, but I believe you mentioned in your written answers that you had as a potential career goal being English faculty.
Yes.
Because what I wanted to recommend at all times, and this is something I recommend person to person to everybody, is that because I have a master's degree, I'm able to teach, and I have taught at the community college in the past. I have a master's of accountancy, so I'm able to teach like 9 different business courses. And it was something else, because the semester that I got my master's degree was the semester that they had me teaching at my alma mater. And so I was sitting there teaching the class in the room that I was taking the same class in 4 years earlier as a student, and now I was teaching the class.
Cool.
And so that was, swallow hard, try not to get choked up at that one. But always, when it comes to supporting Phi Theta Kappa and supporting the community college, something I do want to advocate for, and I'll advocate for everybody, is that if you get a master's degree in whatever field that you're in, that qualifies you mostly to teach at the community college level. And that's probably
I do plan to be a professor and an English professor in a community college. Two of the people that have affected me the most are English professors. My advisor, Angela, is a English professor at Brookdale, and my other professor, Roseanne, is also an English professor. And although they have different teaching methods, I've been inspired by them so much, and I love reading and writing so much. I don't know if you can see those pink sticky notes behind me, but that's those are notes for the book I've been writing. So I'm still trying to patch up plot holes here and there, but writing is such a big part of who I am. Writing and art and anything of that kind of sort of stuff that teaching English was probably going to be my go-to at the end, whether I graduated from a bachelor's or a master's. I'd probably aim for teaching. Yeah.
Well, I can't advocate it enough, because you will see the reward that is derived from that, because there's nothing more rewarding than actually contributing to the academic success of other people and being able to, just as you've shared in this conversation, valuable information. You get a chance to do that for a living every day and enhance the learning of other people. There's no more rewarding task than that. It's almost unfair about how much joy it brings to the individual to contribute to people's learning like that.
That's why I always love
feeling like that.
Yeah, I get that. That's why I always love when I get people sliding into my DMs saying, "Hey, can you help me with this?" Or "I'm a chapter officer at this chapter, and we're struggling with this thing," and I'm always there to help. I love that experience of being able to push them forward and be better than they are. It's like better than they. I don't know if I'm wording this right. Be better than what they think they could be, or things like that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I know exactly what you mean. All right, so now I want to pivot into your tangible, specific ideas that you had about supporting alumni and alumni chapters that was part of your campaign platform. I know you talked about the connectivity enabling alumni chapters, particularly at what we are, which is at the university-based level, enabling their membership and enabling them to recruit prospective members and get them involved and continuing to support the society. What in generic form did you have in mind for the ways, besides the connectivity that you mentioned, in making that enhanced degree of alumni engagement a reality?
Well, the thing was that the whole idea of the social platform was to make sure that chapters could stay in contact with their members, but not only that, but to keep members in contact with the chapters and the alumni with the chapters they were part of, and find new chapters they could be active within. I know how hard it is for chapters to keep alumni active, because our school unfortunately has that big problem. The second they graduate, and that's going to end up being me as well, and I already know it, the second you graduate, you transfer and you go into a new school, and you go into some new region, new state, new city. Some of us don't have a driver's license. Some of us can't drive back every time this chapter is meeting. Some of us just don't feel comfortable going back to the college because they're not students anymore. So the idea was to make sure that alumni, even those that are not active within their regional association, could find a way to stay active in a way with other PTK members, even if it wasn't chapter related. They don't have to create a chapter to be active. The idea was to bring them together so they could work together and make a difference. That could be volunteering with a different honor society within their college, but still being PTK, connected together in that way that they are still working together. My idea isn't about getting recognition for on the international level. Like, for me, that's not as important. It's awesome. I love it. I love the idea of everybody receiving their awards during internationals and even regionals. But my thing is more on the chapter level. What I want is to make sure that every single individual feels like they belong. And when you transfer into a new school, it's so hard to feel like you belong. And it took me a whole year and a half to feel like I belonged at Brookdale because of the fact that I was having such a hard time making friends. Then PTK happened, and I was like, I have friends left, right, and center. It's amazing. But the idea of transferring out and moving on to your new college, it gives anxiety to some students because they don't know how they're going to stay connected with the people they're friends with already, and how they're going to be able to find people like that. And being able to find people like that is the whole idea of creating the social media platform, so they can stay active in more ways than just being active within their association. Because I'll be moving, if I do get into Columbia, I'll be moving to a different state, which is the New York state. So how am I supposed to be active within that state? Well, my region is actually the middle states. Like, I want to be active, but how am I going to find the people that are PTK in Columbia or in that region that I can find that I can be active within? So that's the idea of the platform. That's what I want to make sure that alumni feel like they are still PTK, because we always say you're once PTK, always PTK. But as a member, you have so many more perks than you do when you are an alumni. As a member, you have so many more connections. You have so many more, you get places more often. You get to travel. You get more as a member. as an alumni, you kind of, I know a lot of people that feel left out, and I don't want them to feel that way. So that was the idea, was to make sure that they felt like they were not left out, that they still belonged.
And
I hope that answered your question.
And well, that pretty much, that was what it pretty much reflected. I know some of the stuff that you've mentioned with your campaign already. And that's what I wanted to get to is get to get where you're coming from on that. I will tell you that something that I am advocating for, and part of the reason that we undertook this project, is I will shamelessly plug and promote the avenue that I took, that tried to support society through the university-based PTK Alumni Chapter in this way. And I have already talked with one person today who I think I may have sold on trying to do that when they transfer. So the thing is that what I'm hoping is that effort, if even just one of the international officer candidates or the officers decides that they want to try to pursue this when they transfer, meaning the project that we've done, that is a tremendous service for the institution they're going to, whether their institution realizes it or not. They will when if they accomplish it. But it enables then, our business model is we want to enable the members of Phi Theta Kappa who transfer to our university to hit the ground running, by virtue of, if you think about when the transfer student arrives at the four-year university, they are an upperclassman, and they have a decent amount of catching up to do in terms of building their, what I call, leadership profile at their own university, because their competition, quote unquote, is people that started at that university as freshmen. And what we do is we try to utilize the partnerships that our members formed individually with volunteer partners to have a repertoire of projects to participate in, where our members then have the ability to not have to seek out building their leadership brand from scratch. Instead, they have something that's readily available, and potentially have projects that they can build their leadership and cut their teeth on, as with organizations that are familiar with Phi Theta Kappa members, because all of our projects are with people, that organizations that our members worked with when they were at their community college. And it helps because most of our members are from colleges that are geographically close to Topeka. So it meshes very, very well. It's something that we understand might not be workable geographically everywhere, but that has become, within Phi Theta Kappa, that idea has become my passion. And if you look at the information on the alumni chapters that are currently out there, for instance, if you saw Hallmark Awards, you saw all the star ratings for the alumni associations. All of those alumni associations that had 5 stars, almost all of the ones that had star ratings, were all the region-based alumni associations, like Middle States Regional Alumni Association, which I know is great. I believe it got 5-star. Those are the ones that are easy to maintain, because everybody who lives in the state, if they're an alum, can be part of it. Anyone who lives in the region, if they're an alum, can be part of it. The university-based one is the hard one, because people are constantly moving in and out. And that's where, there's 16 of our organizations chartered in the entire country, and only 4 of them got a star rating this past Catalyst. And the one that had the most members, supposedly, which is the University of Texas, Dallas, didn't even get a star rating at all this time. So we got a 2-star, LSU got a 2-star, Mississippi got a 1-star, and Athens State got a 5-star. We would have been 5-star if we had been able to send someone to Catalyst, but we couldn't because it was too far away geographically for us. So that's my commercial, as it were, and that's why I always am asking people about their intended future transfer plans, because I really do want to hand down what I received and kind of pitch and preach the message about, from my perspective, my accomplishments with my chapter when I was at my community college are pedestrian. I was all state academic team, and honestly, if I had been at most other colleges in Kansas, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to that, because I was the first person to ever get nominated before. It was an experiment when I got it. And so I've had that perspective always, that my accomplishments were not that big a deal in comparison to a lot of the people that were around me. And where I intended to set myself apart was to do something as an alum to give back and hand down what I received to the people that came after me. And it manifested itself in this way. And so I'm seeing now the next chapter of me being a post-collegian overall, hoping that I can share for alumni who might be in the situation like we mentioned earlier, in their last year or even in their last semester, and have a reaction if they go to the right university afterward of, holy cow, what can I do now that I see that the scholarships are this way, which is what I benefited from a lot of our members. So that's my advertisement, that what Phi Theta Kappa has done and what I want to try to foster and continue from our perspective as alums is the endowment that's available for alumni scholarships, because that has increased a lot just in recent years. The graduate scholarship, which is sponsored by Geico, that's for 2 graduate students nationally every year. And
I actually got, I got the undergrad one, the transfer.
Yeah, the Geico one, and obviously Berkshire Hathaway is very, 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 very special to a lot of people in Phi Theta Kappa, because that gecko shows up everywhere giving scholarship money away. But yeah, the grad school one, I got that in 2017, and it was exclusively because of what we had done. And those are awards that probably wouldn't have existed 10 to 15 years ago. There's an increasing awareness of what alumni are doing as they move on to continue to support the society, support the current members. I want to try to help that out, because these people have the right as alumni of PTK to have an added benefit of being able to utilize that involvement to
I completely agree.
reap benefits at the 4-year university continue.
Yep.
And that's what I was able to do, and I want to try to hand those opportunities down. So I was talking with one of the other officer candidates early this morning, and I tried to recruit her pretty hard to that. So I'm just saying that if that's something, depending on where you end up, you're going to be immersed. I understand that you're going to be an upperclassman. It's going to be a different experience than what you're at now. You're going to have a lot of stuff related to your major that are going to be the most important thing for you. But if you feel that hunger, if you feel that interest, building up for you, my goal as a postgraduate is going to be, how can I best assist people to do what I did at the 4-year university, because I don't feel like I'm very much of an authority on how to be the best member as a current member, because I didn't really do that much. I don't have that much credibility. But where I feel I have credibility is to be able to share just the logistical experiences, besides the qualitative experiences that I've had, as to why it's beneficial for the universities to do this. I believe that, there's only 16 in the United States, and most of them are in the South. I really wish that at least every region, I'm not going to say every state, but at least every region should have a 4-year university that has a university-based alumni chapter. And then it fosters competition among the 4-year universities, because now they are trying to get the most accomplished students who are going to make them look good, who are going to academically
I completely
excel
agree
at their university, and are going to be donors when they get done. So that's where
I
it's
completely
at.
agree with that. Yeah. Well, right now with the I actually have reached out to headquarters about the social media platform. They have asked me to put together a program proposal for it, which I actually have spoken to some of the former candidates. We are going to work on it together as a team, and then we will submit something probably in the next month or so. I'm waiting to actually get into it until after the semester ends, because I am overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
Finals next week, and I'm dying. But I do have intentions of making this happen. I'm going to, quote unquote, harass them until they make it happen. So I am going to be putting together a proposal, and hopefully by the end of the school year, next year, we'll have something in the works, I hope. We'll see.
And when we're done with the recorded portion, I have a couple questions for you about that. If there's anything that alumni, that our members could do to provide informative feedback that might help get your audience's attention in terms of trying to make this a reality, because I want to see if there's anything our members that could do to support the idea. But I won't take your time with it during the recorded part of the interview. That's something that we can take care of after. I do want to then just kind of circle it back to, since we've talked about what your plans are, and where you plan to go from here. I do hope that I've done a decent commercial pitch job for you in terms of the alumni engagement on your own part, wherever you end up, because because the thing is that the credibility that I had was as a pedestrian member trying to do something that very few people have done. The credibility that international officer candidates would have is, holy cow, this person knows what they're talking about when it comes to Phi Theta Kappa. And so I think, you, for instance, if you tried what I did, would have a way easier time of it. I'm just saying. So because it would have instant credibility because of your track record within PTK as a member. And that's what, to me, it's a gold mine waiting to happen amongst the current candidates and their staff too, who have done a lot for them. So I think, though, to wrap it up, because I know I've gone past the allotted time that I promised you, and I want to respect your time for sure, because your finals week is a week ahead of mine, and so I have to empathize with that. The first general question is, what form of advice, and it's tempered obviously because your campaign experience due to this convention was way different from what anyone else probably will ever experience or had experienced in the past. But what form of advice would you have to somebody who is a new member, who is really zealous about being involved and is considering following your footsteps of undertaking the campaign that you made of trying to become an international officer? What sort of advice would you give them?
Okay, so that's a good question. The first thing I would do, the first piece of advice I would give is find your whys. If you don't know why you're running, people will see right through you and they will not vote for you. There is no way you'll even make it to the finals if you don't know why you're running. If you don't have a good reason, and this is probably going to be the most asked question, why did you choose to run? What made you decide you wanted to be an international officer? What makes you the better choice to be the international officer? You're not, why are you doing it? What is the reason why? What is pushing you forward? You have to find the reason, the true reason. It's not because, oh, the position's cool, or oh, it'll be give me really good experience. No, that is like the superficial why. You need the deep why. You need to dig. It took me 2 months to figure out my whys. Okay, 2 months, and that was because my mentor told me he would not support me if I didn't figure out those whys. So same here. I will not support anyone if they don't know their whys. First and foremost, find your whys. You can't even start planning your campaign if you don't know your whys. You can't say, I want to run and organize goals and things if your goals are not going to be supported by a reason why you're doing this. Like my reason why the social media thing, the reason why I wanted to do that was because I was asked continuously over and over and over again, how do I stay connected with my chapters? How do I stay connected with the region? How can I stay connected with members that are not members anymore? And another reason why I wanted to do it was like, I'm graduating this year. I'm scared to death. I want to stay connected with the people that I love and I care about and I've gotten to know. Those were my whys, part of my whys. But you can't base your goals off of air. You need solid foundation, and your whys are your foundation. Second of all, you need to ask for, you need signed permission from the college, so make sure you are super nice to your president. I'm not saying like suck up to him, but definitely be respectful and keep in mind that they are going to consider what you are going to be doing for the college as an international candidate, how that's going to affect them. And you have to be professional and you have to be respectful and you can't irrationally decide you're going to run and then act as, like, you have to act like an adult. When you run, you have to be, you're literally being considered as an adult. You're being voted in because this is the highest position of Phi Theta Kappa. They want somebody who has their head on their shoulders and knows what they're doing and knows what they want and how they're going to affect PTK, and they need to affect PTK in a positive way, not in a negative way. So when you are being voted in, if you get voted in, you need to make sure that what you've built on yourself is a strong, solid human being. You have to have your head on your shoulders. You need to be respectful. You can't be a hothead, which is, I'm not a hothead, but sometimes I can be very silly. And that comes out, that's my personality. I am a very exuberant person. I am excited about stuff, and I am very excited about Phi Theta Kappa. I am very passionate about Phi Theta Kappa, but I had to tone it down a lot to be even considered to be a candidate. Like there is too much and there is too little. You just have to find the right, what's the word? Vibration, is that what I'm saying? I'm thinking like,
I think you're referring to a happy medium.
Yes. Like you have to find a happy medium to your personality and your passions, and like, yeah, you really need to have your head on your shoulders when you decide to run. You can't do it in the spur of the moment. You can't do it. You can't decide it just because you're having a good day. Like you have to think it through, because it is a lot of work and it is exhausting and it is sometimes not fun. And you have to be aware of the fact that you are probably going to lose too. So when you start off, the first thing I did when I decided I wanted to run and I had figured out my whys and I had been working on the campaign for a while, I realized, you know what, there is a very high chance that I'm not going to make it through. I'm going to reach out to somebody who lost and who knows how it feels, because I hadn't lost. I won an regional position before, and I was like, you always have this thing in your head that says you're going to get it, you're going to get it, you're going to get it. No matter who you are, everybody's thinking they're going to get it, they're going to get it. So when I realized that I was running against 13 other very good candidates, I had to come to the conclusion that there was a very high chance that I wouldn't even make the finals. So I reached out to Ego Kelly Kalina, who is the international president finalist with James Elliott last year. He lost. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I want to run for international president, but I also know that there's a very high chance I will not make it through. And I want to know how you dealt with it, because I know I'm going to be salty if I don't make it through. Like everybody gets upset. Being rejected isn't a very amazing feeling, to be honest. Like, no. But I reached out to him and he talked me through how he dealt with it, and I mentally prepared myself to the thought that I would not make it through. I knew that there was a very high chance I wouldn't make it. So you have to keep your goal in the forefront of your mind at all times. Actually, I had this hanging on my wall all the time.
That's great. That's great.
I painted this over the span of a month, but like that was the goal, that was the idea, that was what I was aiming for. But you also have to keep in mind that when you're running against other people who have very good backgrounds, very good goals, and they have complete ownership of what they've done. They know what they're doing, they know their goals just as much as you know yours and know what you're doing. Keep in mind that you may lose. Be prepared for losing. That's another thing. You can't say, I'm gonna run and then expect to win. You're not going to, you can't just decide you're gonna run and then assume you're gonna win. No matter how hard you work, I was up late nights working 24/7. Like I did not take a day off running for that whole month, okay? I was exhausted by the end of it. I turned off all my social media and I slept for 2 days. After Friday, I was done. I was like, I need a break. It is exhausting and it is so much work, and it does not matter how much work you put into it, you need to be prepared for losing. That's the biggest thing, I think. You find your whys, be respectful, keep your head on your shoulders, and be prepared to lose. I talk too much. You're gonna have to cut out a whole section of that. Just so.
No, it's perfect. It's heartfelt and it's genuine and it's valuable. No such need. Trust me. I think the last question though that I wanted to sort of ask is just sort of a big picture of your higher education experience. I mean, when you are finished and well on your way in your career, what character trait / attribute are you striving for so that when you are gone and that your colleagues and that the people you were around and the people whose lives you've touched would say that you had that such of that specific character attribute?
Wow, that's the first time anybody's asked me that. I don't know. I think that I would strive to be respectful and kind. I was bullied a lot as a child, as I mentioned before, both from my teachers and my classmates. I did not fit in. And one thing that I always strive to do as a leader, as a person, as an individual, as a sister, is make sure that all of the people around me feel like they belong, feel like they are loved and listened to and heard. Because you can listen to someone, but you might not hear them. And that's something I try to do, is hear people that I'm with. I think that that's probably what I would strive for people to remember me by my compassion, I guess, and my love for them. I really hope that if when I go, that they have a light when they think of me. Like they feel like I was a light in their life.
and that was good. I'm afraid when I asked that question that someone's going to say the absolute wrong answer, which is I want a building named after me, which someone actually said that to me once, that I should want for myself once upon a time when I left Highland. And
I mean, that wouldn't be bad. That'd be pretty cool. No, I don't have any.
Yeah.
No use for a building. I hope that what I want as a legacy is that I've made a difference in the person's heart. I strive to make them realize I call people out on their, I can't say that word. I'll call them out when I see that they're not behaving right, and I will be there for them whenever they need me. I hope that what they will have that my legacy will be something that will make them a better person. At the end of the day, that's what I like as a leader. That's what I strive for. For me, being a leader means giving people what they need to strive to their goals and to be a better person. And if I'm not giving them what they need, then I'm not being a good leader. And that's what I strive to do every single day of my life, is to be there for the people I care about. And even for strangers, I've had people DM me having a horrible day, and I'm like, dude, I'm here for you. Talk to me. But like, I hope to be that change in them that makes them a better person. That's what I hope to leave as a legacy, at least. I hope.
and thank you for sharing that. That was very, very special, very meaningful as an answer. So I appreciate that profoundly. All right, I'm getting way over time here, and it is your generosity allowing me to go over time like this. So I think that's pretty much covered everything that I wanted to ask. I think the last thing, and I should have talked about this with you before so that you could be prepared for it, but
oh no.
would you have any particular message, or what sort of message might you want to get across to alumni as a whole, or specifically alumni that are our organization, people that are at the four-year university? Would there be any type of message that you would like to get across to them, either related or not related to your candidacy, just as your impression of being involved with PTK over your career at Brookdale.
Well, I know that there were a lot of alumni that chapters and associations that were allowed to vote. So I thank them for their vote, for their ability to make a difference in the campaign. But first and foremost, I like more than anything, I want them to know that they matter and that they are seen and they are listened to, and they are one of the most important things of PTK as a whole. And thank you for that, because at least my region would not be where we are as a 5-star region, supporting so many chapters, maintaining all of these chapters' activities and stuff without the alumni holding us together. Really, honestly, more than anything, I think that alumni are such a very important part of PTK, and people just don't see that. So thank you for that.
And thank you for that message as well. It does mean a lot. And on behalf of all of our members, we'll cut the recorded portion now, and there's going to be one thing I want to share with you after I hit the stop button, related to our organization, just as sort of a continued commercial, if you're okay with enduring more of my commercials.
Okay.
But what I want to just get across is, from the alumni perspective, the fact that you placed an emphasis on our role in supporting current membership, it meant a lot to me personally. It meant a lot to our members, and I profoundly appreciate that. I also, as I said before, commend and applaud you for running the campaign that you did run, keeping all of the different priorities that you had that were of substance and of significance to the members. That was something that people really had to chew on and think about. So you need to be applauded very much for giving people something to think about,
Thank you.
as you've done, particularly with the connectivity issue. And then generally, as I said before, for representing Phi Theta Kappa in such a way that you have, and all the candidates, particularly this year, did a great job. And as I said, until this year, I didn't really pay that close attention except to who won. But this year, because it was moved online, I can just tell you that it was a tremendous job by all of you, in particularly with regard to your campaign. You did a tremendous job, and you went about it the absolute right way, the perfect way. You represented your college with pride. You represented your college with a great deal of empathy based on what your campaign issues were. And as I said, the pride and professionalism that you exuded throughout that process was very, very admirable. And I hope that a lot of people were watching so that they can emulate what you and all the candidates did this time around, but particularly what you did in terms of just running a very, very strong operation. And as I said, giving your audience the respect they deserved in a very professional, courteous manner. And most of all, what I would ask is, as of now I'm getting emotional, but what I would ask is,
Me too.
that zeal that you have, don't ever, throughout whatever happens in the course of your life, and in the case of your career, the community college seems like it's factoring probably pretty strong in your intended future career. Well, whatever happens, don't ever lose that zeal. Don't ever lose that passion, because it's through that zeal and that passion that you have the greatest ability to harness that to make use of your talents and your ability to work with people, to enhance the lives of others, to enhance the learning of others. And as I said before, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And so the current membership and the people that come to the community college tomorrow, people that come to the community college 5 years from now, 10 years from now, need people with your zeal to be there for them, just as you had people who you've mentioned who had that zeal for your development as an individual and for the development of students across the board in general. And so what I'm asking you and pleading from you is, keep that fire going and don't ever let it go out. I haven't lost it, and it's going to take a lot to beat it out of me if whatever happens in my life. But it means a lot to see, since I've been involved for way too long now, that it's quite significant. And I just want to say thank you. And in that regard, please keep it going. Please don't ever change that character, because you mentioned character traits before. That's a strong sense of organizational buying in, and it's the opportunity to really invest and derive an intrinsic reward out of an outcome that doesn't directly affect you. That's what we call intrinsic reward. And if you're contributing to the success of other people, you're contributing to the learning of other people. That's the highest form of intrinsic reward. Once I started participating in that, I was hooked. And I think you speak the same language in that way. So I just want to say, thank you profoundly, and please keep that zeal. Don't ever lose it, because it's a gift.
Thank you.
All right, Veronique, on behalf of all of our members, I want to sincerely thank you for agreeing and setting aside the time and putting the thought and effort into giving our viewers some content that they will both enjoy and learn from. And I hope that we have the opportunity to communicate, and by we, I mean our members, our organization, have the opportunity to communicate with you and the other candidates continued in the future. And I hope, even though I'm going to be making my own way, not necessarily attached to higher ed for a little bit, that I have the opportunity to continue to connect with all of you guys on a personal level, because it's something that matters a lot to me. It can be the way I can continue to support the society in my way, which I really need at this point. I don't think I can exist without supporting PTK in some way. So
I understand that.
All right. So thank you so very much. It means so much to all of us. All right.